Excuse me, miss. What's that you're listening to?
Well, it's a podcast. It's all about this couple from England who are in a lifestyle and they talk about their adventures.
So is that child-friendly then, is it?
No. They say lots of naughty things and they swear a lot. But would you like to listen?
Get in the gym or to your car. With our advice you could go far. We fuck things up and we make mistakes. We talk about our sexy dates. It's getting hard for this to rhyme. Just as well 'cause it's bed hopping time.
Welcome to episode 48 of the Bed Hoppers podcast. My name's Mr. H. Over there, sat on the sofa looking rather happy because she's got a Negroni in her hand, is...
Mrs. H.
Yeah, Mrs. H. Yes! I was allowed to say something! Yay!
Well, you told me off last time.
Oh, I know I did. It's terrible. Well, we are now a week back
Yes.
from Australia and Singapore.
Would you say we're recovered?
I think we're largely recovered. I think we did a lifetime of liver damage.
Yeah, I don't think my liver will ever forgive me.
No, and I think we've done probably about 6 weeks worth of hardcore exercise damage.
Oh, okay. I was
Yeah.
going to say, we haven't not done 6 weeks of hardcore exercise.
Ever.
Ever.
No, I know, but I think we're about 6
But I'm about
weeks
to
of
commence on some hardcore exercise.
some exercise.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to do a butt ton of exercises. So if you
Try
hear
and undo some of the damage.
if you hear grunting and squeaking, it's because Mrs. H is dropping and giving 20.
Really?
Yeah,
20 what?
minutes ahead.
Ah, I see.
Yeah, you
like
see?
That, is it?
Like that. Yeah, it is. We're pretty sexy like that.
Hmm.
Yeah, we're having some sexy adventures, right?
Yeah?
Yeah, we're going to talk about some of those.
Yeah, go on then.
All right then, fine. So this week we're going to catch you up. This is like part deux, hot shots part deux of Australian and Singaporean
Body shots part two.
body shots. I don't believe there were any body shots throughout the course of
What?
our adventures.
We didn't do any body shots.
I know.
We did every other kind of shot.
We did tequila shots.
We did.
I don't think we did lots of
You
other
did cum
shots.
shots.
Cum shots. You might have done cum shots.
Oh, dear.
Oh, you're laughing at your own joke there.
It's drinking this Negroni during the day.
Is that what it
Sent
is?
me all of a dither.
Daytime drinking is our friend.
Always.
Yeah, like morning
Well, I
drinking.
haven't had breakfast wine since we got back.
I know, right? What the fuck is
I know.
Where's someone bringing me my coffee, my breakfast, and my breakfast wine?
Your car wine, your roadhead, your breakfast wine, all this stuff.
There's a whole load of stuff that we need to cover and unpick in that statement.
Hmm.
Maybe we'll get through that if we're lucky. So, last week we talked about our first week in Singapore and Australia. This week we're going to try and cram 2 weeks into one episode.
Otherwise, you'll have 52 episodes.
Yes, it could go on, and it would get very boring. It'd be like, and then we went to the toilet. Mrs. H was in there for 10 minutes. I think she took a magazine.
God.
I took my phone. I was replying to Twitter comments. So, yeah. So we're not going to do that. We're going to try and spin through this as quickly as possible.
Cool.
Not to, miss out on stuff, but just to make sure that you're not
Highlight the
completely...
salient points.
Well, yeah, exactly that. And plus, it's a bit like us just showing you our holiday pictures, which actually are quite sexy. Having looked
yeah,
at
but
them.
no one wants to sit through holiday pics because you didn't go. And I'm like,
Well,
I
I was
want to
there.
see these.
I want to see them. But it is a little bit that way. We don't want to bore everyone to death. So we're going to try and keep this to just another episode, or this episode, and then we'll have a bit of a sort of emotional follow-up next week, next time. Yeah?
Emotions.
Emotions.
That's deep.
Clouded your future is. So, what did we do? Well, last time we talked about our night out at our secret spot.
Oh, yeah, and my arancini surprise.
Yes, that was a fantastically sexy night.
Oh, it really was. And the arancini was awesome.
Yeah, and it was a really nice club. I really enjoyed it there.
Yeah.
So the following day, slightly hungover.
Oh, yeah.
Not amazingly hungover,
No, not super hungover.
but a little bit sluggishly so.
Mm-hmm.
We had to hop into a car
Okay. Yeah.
with Angela.
Yes.
So you and me and Angela hopped into a car.
Yes, of course. We went to the wine country, didn't we?
That's right. We went to Hunter Valley.
Yes,
Hunter region?
that's
I don't know.
correct. Yeah,
Yes.
Hunter Valley.
So we did that in Angela's rally car. I'm going to call it. For that's what it felt like on the odd occasion. And tootling behind us at a steady pace was Bradford, Naughty, Rocket, and Lolo Lady.
That's right.
I believe that's how the cars went.
So, road trip adventure.
Yeah, exactly. Where you promptly fell asleep in the car and then complained bitterly when you didn't know what the conversation was about.
Maybe. That
Yes.
sounds a little bit true.
What were you two talking about? I don't like it. Why were you talking? And I'm like, well, I'm sat in the front with Angela. You're asleep in the back. We're going to have a conversation. I don't know what you've been saying. Why can't I?
The story checks out this time.
It does. Exactly. So we went to the Hunter Valley and stayed in this marvellous Airbnb.
Oh, that was stunning.
Which was
beautiful hot tub.
Yeah.
Gorgeous rooms and a great big sort of fire. It was just stunning.
It was
Yeah.
amazing as a place
Beautiful.
to stay. So we went there and we did some wine tasting as well. So we had our first...
Because we hadn't had enough wine.
Well, at this point we hadn't done any wine tasting.
No, we'd just been doing wine drinking.
Just mostly regular drinking.
Coughing.
So we got ferried around and tasted some more wine, which was great.
Which was pretty hilarious because they started off with it being Semillon Day. And thus the whole group was rendered into fits of giggles because me and Lola Lady couldn't keep a straight face.
Well, they said Semillon every 30 seconds.
I know! It's like he was setting us up.
Have you got any more Semillon, please?
This is an excellent Semillon. And it was like, I don't know, 11 a.m. or something stupid, and we were like, this is ridiculous.
Coughing
Wine
in
Semillons.
glorious sunshine.
Yeah.
And having little snacky things to eat
Yeah.
while we were ferried around, which was really good fun.
I mean, that's a pretty awesome way to spend your days, really.
It was quite good. Now, one of the things that we talked about on last week is actually, in the first part of the holiday, you didn't believe anything.
Correct.
The second week, when we got to Australia...
My gullibility knew no bounds.
Your gullibility was dialed up to maybe 11 or 12 out of 10.
Yeah.
Now, one of the things that happened while we were at this ranch, for it was a bit of a ranch,
Yes.
was that they convinced you that drop bears existed.
Okay.
So we were all sat around a table, and Naughty brought up on his iPad a picture of a drop bear that he'd searched on Google.
I feel like I need to lay some context around my gullibility.
I don't think we need to.
In that, everybody was so convincing. And why would such an amazing group of people tell me such lies?
Well, I think it's because it's very easy to tell you a story. And ordinarily, I don't take that much advantage of that. But they clearly loved and relished this opportunity.
In my defence, they were all very convincing liars.
Well, maybe. But
very likely.
They were talking about drop bears, which were essentially koala bears with great big fucking fangs. Now, after showing you some mocked up pictures on the interwebs, Mrs. H was starting to think, starting to show on her face that she believed that this is the thing. And then, because we'd left our wine in the car, Bradford had to go out and get it, didn't he?
And it was a bit dark.
And it was very dark out there because there's no peripheral light or whatever. So you couldn't really see much more than a metre in front of the house.
No. So you wouldn't have been able to see any drop bears.
No. And they started telling us that drop bears could fall from trees and drop onto you and attack you.
I mean, it sounds fucking terrifying, doesn't it?
Or they could fall off a building and savage
you. To be uninitiated,
well,
it sounds pretty scary.
To the simpletons, it may have sounded that way. Of course, I'm laughing at this because I can see the lie being woven, and I'm fully aware of the drop bear situation. So Bradford goes out to the bathroom and says, "Look, I've got to get the wine, but it's okay. Don't worry. I've put some toothpaste on my head to ward them off because they don't like mint." So he then offers his hand to you or his head to you, and he has genuinely put some mint on there.
He genuinely has.
And Mrs. H is like, "Oh, really? Oh, that's bad. Are you going to be okay?" So he's gone outside for a few minutes, and she's looking quite worried. So he comes back in, and he's like, "Yeah, I think this worked. We should be all right. I don't think there's anything out there, but it's just as well we did it." So,
I mean, thank God he got the wine.
Yeah, a little bit. Well, a little bit later, they're all outside looking at the stars, and I was going to join them while they were doing that. And I said to Mrs. H, "Right, I'm just going to pop outside." And you said to me, what?
I was concerned for your well-being and thought maybe there was an imminent attack of drop bears if you didn't go prepared. So I asked you if you'd put some toothpaste on you as a precautionary measure. Now, saying it out loud now, it sounds ridiculous.
Yes, it does, doesn't it?
It really does. But at the time, I can't stress enough how convincing they all were
Okay, that's fine.
at cementing the lie and leading me to think that this actually existed.
So you were genuinely concerned for me going outside. You were
Yes.
literally saying, don't go outside until you've put your toothpaste on.
Correct.
Which was hilarious. So I had to go outside because I couldn't stop myself from laughing too much. And I had to tell them that, well, in fact, I sent Bradford in to tell you that the drop bears did not exist because you were so worried about coming outside that you were worried about me going out, but also worried about going outside yourself.
I mean, I had been originally worried about spiders and snakes and all kind of animals, but the biggest thing I was scared of was a bloody non-existent animal.
A mythical creature.
Mythical creature.
So Bradford went in and told Mrs. H about the reality of drop bears. He was very happy with himself.
Oh, yes, he was. There was much merriment.
And this was a theme that carried on throughout the course of the holiday.
Yes, make up shit and see if Mrs. H believes it.
Yes, exactly that. So there were
Turns out I believe quite a lot.
yeah, there were a variety of lies sold to you, dear wife.
I feel so taken advantage of.
Do you? That's a terrible thing. So that happened while we were
I'm glad you're amused by this anecdote.
But the cool thing was, while we were there, we also did get to see some real life animals.
I got to see a wolf spider.
That's what I was leading into.
I was so excited about this. It was hiding in a saucepan.
And Naughty had to come in and scoop him out and chuck him outside, didn't he?
Yeah.
Was he all right? No! Because he's a wolf spider.
Oh, God. Well, he was very excited to show me because he knew I wanted to see a real life bona fide spider. So he called me in and said, look, I found a spider. So I was pretty chuffed with that.
Great story.
Yeah, I know.
We saw a wolf spider.
And then he set it free.
We also saw some kangaroos.
Some wallabies.
Yeah. Some
roos, some emus, and a skink. Is that right? But not on the same night.
No. Well, almost on the same night. And there were just general parrots and shit flying around. They all got very excited about the birds.
Yeah. There was quite a lot of wildlife.
Yeah, all just buzzing around doing its stuff. So we were out there for a couple of days, and that was good fun.
Which was beautiful.
Mm-hmm. So we played a few games. We played some games that we tried to record with Angela and Bradford as part of their show. I don't think they got anything of any usable content out of that, but you never know. That may surface at some point.
Maybe. Either way, we had a really good time.
Yeah, lots of board games.
Lots of heads up.
Yeah, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, we introduced people to Heads Up. So if you've never played this as an iPhone...
Well, here's a tip. Never play it with me.
Yes, your ability to describe anything is...
Turns out I can't act for shit.
Yes. Is profoundly terrible. So, but that was quite funny. We've got some great little videos of that happening. I like the one where everyone... Because people got more and more progressively naked as we were playing this throughout the course of the evening, because it was getting hotter and hotter.
Oh, yes,
because
it was really
the
hot.
roaring fire.
Yeah.
And also because, hey, a bunch of swingers in a house. Yeah. And then all of a sudden I was playing it, and then everyone had I think the splits or something. And it popped up in my head, and literally everyone just fell to the floor. I thought, what the fuck is going on? But it just turns out they were trying to act out the split. So that was, quite fun and entertaining, really. So after that, we went back to Sydney.
Yes.
And then the next day, we flew to...
Melbourne. Is that right?
It's not a test.
Yeah,
yes,
I'm trying to cast my mind back. Yes, we did go to Melbourne.
This doesn't bode well if you're trying to cast your mind back. So we thought we'd have a look at Melbourne because it looked like an awesome place.
Well, I didn't want us to just stay in one part of Australia because everyone says it's like the place to go, and I thought we should just put ourselves out there and just go and explore a bit.
Well, I was led to believe that every other shop was a hipster coffee bar. It turns out they were right. It pretty much was. It was an awesome place.
It was super fun.
What was really fun is that Angela had to go there for work.
Yep.
And we were meeting your friend from work as well while we were there, an old friend from work. And while we were out looking at the penguins, because we went and saw the penguins, who did we run into but Angela?
Yeah.
So then we had this glorious meal where, because he doesn't know or didn't know that we were in the lifestyle, and some various questions were asked about how we knew Angela, which is quite an interesting development. So after that meal, we did tell him.
Yes, we did.
We did, and gave him a business card and said, "On you go, on your way." So if you're listening, hello, well done, you've made it quite far. Thank you. So the penguins were on the pier. That was quite cool.
It was amazing.
What else did we do in Melbourne?
We drank some margaritas.
Yeah.
And then we went and found some comic book shops, and we also met some listeners.
Well, I was just getting to that.
Oh,
yes.
okay.
So someone on Twitter reached out to us. I haven't checked in whether we can reveal their Twitter handle or not. So
we'll talk around them, and then if we can, we'll talk about them again next week.
well, if they get in touch and say, yeah, that's fine to mention the name, then we'll drop them a Twitter.
They were very lovely.
They were.
Yeah.
They were.
They took us to a super fun hidden secret bar.
They did. It was really cool.
Oh, it was so nice. Yeah.
What was really nice, actually, is that they reached out to us knowing that we'd be in Melbourne and took time out of their evening, got babysitting sorted out, and just spent a couple of hours hanging with us, which was really good fun. Really nice to hear their adventures, where they'd gone through, what they'd been up to. That was really fab. I really liked that.
We also went down to Sorrento in Melbourne.
Sorrento? What was that?
It was a really beautiful, stunning bit of coastline. And we saw Arthur's Seat, and we went all up into the windy, mountainy bits.
Oh, yeah, that was really nice. Your friend took us all over the place down there. So
it was beautiful.
Some amazing views.
Yeah, so Melbourne was really stunning.
Good.
Oh, awesome.
All right, then. Then what do we do?
Then we went back to Sydney.
Okay. And apologies if this is just a little bit about us talking about what we've done on holiday. There are some interesting, valid points that we'll get to.
Absolutely.
At some point or other. Maybe next week, maybe the week after. But we will get there. And it'll be great when we do.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was the end of the episode. Thanks for joining the Bread Hoppers podcast. We'll be back next week. No, seriously. We went back to Sydney.
Yeah.
And then we crammed quite a bit in, really, didn't we, when we went back to Sydney?
We really did, because then we only had a few days till we went to Perth.
Yes.
Yes.
So we did the Star Wars exhibit.
Oh, that was super fun.
It was like Star Wars identities, and you could pick your sort of journey through life as a Star Wars character and pick who you are and what you did.
Unsurprisingly, I joined the dark side.
Yeah, immediately. The first thing that Mrs. H did was like, yeah, I'm going to join the dark side.
Totally.
That's for me.
That's where the party's at.
And at the end, they do put up a picture of your character. So whereas mine was birthed in tragedy and won a pod race and saved billions or something, and was
a Jedi in your ways.
Yeah, and was this legendary hero. Yours was like, this stuff happened, but mainly she joined the dark side with Darth Vader and fucked shit up.
Yep.
Yeah. But that was kind of cool because we all the original Star Wars props, so we got some good photos of that.
Yeah.
Saw the little vehicles, and I was having a nerdgasm the whole time. Constant nerdgasm.
Absolutely.
And then we saw the Opera House the same day.
Yeah, that
and
was super
did the
stunning.
botanical gardens and saw some carnivorous plants. So it was a really nice, chilled out,
A bit of a touristy day.
touristy day.
Yeah.
And then the evening was an interesting one.
Yes.
So at this point in our holiday, we had fallen foul of flu or colds or whatever you...
Yeah,
Swinger flu, man flu, whatever you want to call it. We think patient zero might have been Daryl, but we can't back that up completely.
No.
Because, it looked like what he had. If
Yeah.
I'm going to,
We were battling some hench colds either way.
Yeah, definitely some hench colds by this point. And my voice had gone.
You were like Batman.
Where's Falcone? My voice was down here.
So I think it was to your advantage, really, that your voice went all
It
Batman.
was more like that.
Oh, no, it
It
wasn't.
was a little bit more like that.
No.
Yeah,
It was very Batman.
It was very grumbly, rumbly, and the colds hadn't come out fully either, so it was just dry voices. And so the best way to tackle that is, of course, to drink.
Oh, absolutely.
And
keep your fluids up.
Yeah, keep your fluids up, and I think that was the sensible thing that we did. So we were due to meet Kate and Daryl and their friends, Mr. and Mrs. Negroni.
Yes. I love how we're recounting this over a Negroni.
Yes, this is quite good.
How excellent.
Not literally Mr. Negroni or Mrs. Negroni, but just a Negroni. Just a random one we found on the street.
So we reconvened with the lovely Kate and Daryl and Mr. and Mrs. Negroni.
Mm-hmm.
And we had some food and some more drinks because we really needed more drinks by this point.
And then we went to a bar, right? And this bar had, the most important bit was that it had an Addams Family pinball machine.
Yes, I thought you were going to say the most important bit was the barmaid that you were chatting at.
Well, I will get to that in a moment.
Okay.
So, but the most important bit was the fact that it had an Addams Family pinball machine, which is, if you're a pinball aficionado, pinball wizard, whatever one you want to call it, it's one of the best pinball machines out there.
It was really good.
So we spent quite a few, I don't know what denominations it was.
You were just chucking coins in.
Yeah.
You kept coming back to the table and demanding I empty my purse.
Yes. Give me more cash
Wife,
for pinball.
give me more money.
Yes. You had a go. You were notoriously bad at it.
Fine. Yes, I was a bit shit.
So we found that you're pretty shit at games. It was
Thanks.
one of our learnings of the evening. And because Mrs. Negroni wasn't around for the first part of the evening, was
No.
she? So in that meantime, I think the mission was, not the mission, but our given right was to drink as much as we physically could.
Yeah, obviously, you know, because that seemed to be our mission pretty much every day.
Yeah, and we were getting reports in from when she was at work, when she was leaving,
Yeah.
what was going on.
So we just did the right thing and propped the bar up and drank our weight in everything.
Yeah, I think we did.
Mr. Negroni did not help. He kept buying tequila.
Well, he did towards the sort of latter part of that evening.
I would
And-
say from the middle.
Well, yeah,
Right.
maybe. Tequila is not my friend. It's one of my natural enemies.
Yeah.
So we started doing tequila shots and being dragged into some sort of tequila-fueled, boozy wonder haven of
Yeah, I
events.
got dragged into a random darts match.
Yeah, you did that. There was dancing to be had. There was
Singing.
singing to be had. We'll come to that in a second. There was a barmaid who was very interested in hearing my adventures until I got dragged away.
Oh.
Terrible, terrible.
by
loss.
me.
I know, not by you. And then a guy came out with a guitar. Then he started singing and playing guitar, and he was
all right.
he was all right, wasn't he? He was pretty
He was
good. He
pretty
was
good.
doing a mix of things, and we were sort of, because there weren't that many people in the bar,
No.
only 30, 40 people or so, I would have said in total.
Yeah.
And although, given the fact that I'm using drunk memory here, that could be very different. And then Kate, I think, organised for me to go up and sing Tenacious D.
Well, I believe we asked him to play Tenacious D, and he didn't really know any.
Well, I'm not sure how this went down. I was A, too drunk, and B, my throat wasn't in the best of situations.
So imagine Batman singing Tenacious D.
Yeah. So I get called / shunted to the stage.
Was it tribute you sang?
It was tribute.
How excellent.
I think there may exist a video of me
I
singing
think there
that.
does.
I don't ever want to see it. It is not my finest moment.
Well, put it another way, there exists a video of me meeting the floor and being very drunk. So if I have to live with that memory, you can live with your Tenacious
Well,
D
we're gonna
singing.
get onto that bit in just a moment. So I was drunk enough to stand up and attempt to sing tribute.
Yes.
This is not the greatest song in the world. That's probably how it went. for
Batman
me.
singing
Yeah.
tribute.
This is tribute.
That's pretty good.
So we then ended up going back to Mr. and Mrs. Negroni's house for a quick drink.
Yes, another drink.
Another drink, because we needed one of those. And then we realised what the time was, because the next day
Oh.
we were supposed to fly out at 7 a.m. in the morning to Perth.
Yeah. Time was making a fool of us.
Well,
once
and drink
again.
was as well.
Yeah.
And at this point, it was quite clear that we were quite drunk.
A little inebriated,
And
yes.
it was also quite clear that you were very drunk.
Okay, yes. I try and consume the same amount of alcohol as you, which is probably not a wise idea.
You made me sound like a raging alcoholic, dear.
Well, clearly my alcohol tolerance should not be matched with a man's drinking.
Even if it's a hobbit-sized man, it should not.
No.
So we eventually had to leave there because we had to get a move on.
And go and pack a case and
Go and pack a case. So we jump in a cab.
Yeah.
It would have been lovely to stay and catch up with more because we're having such fun.
Yeah.
But it was really clear that we needed to sort our shit out. While we're in the Uber, we find out that Bradford and Angela are actually at the Owl House.
Yay.
So they said, why don't you come by
Have some more
and have a
drinks.
drink? And
We
we
thought, what a great idea.
we said that sounds like a great idea. So we jump in the cab, end up going to the Owl House, and the guy drops us. I don't know.
He got us lost.
He got us
didn't
lost,
he?
and it was clear that it was very near to the Owl House, but we weren't exactly sure where. Now, you fell over at this point,
Yeah,
getting out of the cab.
Just fell over, nothing
Just-
really.
Yeah. So I've got a picture of you just sat in a crumpled heap
Sprawled
on
on
the
the
floor
pavement.
with your phone all over the place,
Yeah.
in a bit of a
Looking
mess.
very sorry for myself.
Now, at this point, it's safe to say that Mrs. H started having a little bit of an emotional breakdown.
Oh,
Now, we're going to talk about that, a bit about that in the next episode.
okay.
So I think we're going to tackle that and not some of the stuff that sparked it, but just some of those emotional pieces and what happened with that.
That's fair.
Because, this is very much a recap of what went on. But what was really funny is when we turned up to the Owl House, Bradford sauntered over and could see that Mrs. H was in tears.
Oh.
And he said, it sort of almost, "Don't worry there, little pilgrim. I'll sort this out." As he tapped me on the back and sent me into the place to get a drink. "I'll have this fixed in a jiffy, sir. This will be nae bother. I've got this.
Oh, poor
no
Bradford.
problem."
So deluded.
As you're sat there crying on a table outside the place.
Well, he'd never really met a drunken Mrs. H before, had he?
Well, I think he's met drunken Mrs. H on a number of occasions. What he's not met is
but
drunken,
not emotional. Yeah.
drunk. And you were a wreck. There were tears.
Yeah.
There were more tears.
I was a hot mess.
You were an absolute hot mess. And what made me laugh is that people kept going out to try and solve this issue, thinking they would be able to do it. I know that you're just going to eventually cry yourself out, and it's going to sort itself out. And I know that there's no logical way through that journey.
You can't reason with a drunken hot mess.
No. Especially when I'd already tried all the reasoning techniques and they hadn't worked.
And the daft thing is, people kept bringing like drinks to me.
That's the funny thing. So we ended up drinking more, and you being in an absolute wreck.
Yeah, not my finest moment.
Not your finest moment.
But what a lovely bunch of friends we have that kept coming out to try and rescue me.
Well, that was very nice of them. But I think your true friends showed themselves when we managed to get you back to Bradford and Angela's place. And then we took pictures of you lying on the floor, you half asleep, and some video of you just screaming at people. "What are you doing? Why?
And then you all proceeded to take pictures of you, like mounting me in heroic poses.
Like we'd downed a lion and shot our prey, and we all had our feet on you at one point.
God's sake. Fine.
And then I think there is a picture of you sat on the toilet as well.
Oh, for goodness sake. Well, anyway.
All the dignity has gone out the window.
Yeah,
and this ended up being, I don't know, it was something like 1 o'clock in the morning, I think. And we had to get up at 6 and still pack all of our stuff that had been strayed around Bradford and Angela's house so that we could go to Perth.
Yep.
So the alarm went off at 6.
And I wanted to die.
Yes.
Yeah.
In fact, actually, I think the night before, you spent 8 minutes just on your back trying to get up because you'd fallen out of bed. Bearing in mind, the mattress was on the floor.
Yeah.
Like a big turtle.
Again, I'm going to lay the blame of Mr. Negroni for most of this.
Mr.
Negroni.
Mr. Negroni.
Just constantly giving me tequila shots and lots of wine.
Yeah.
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 Someone has to take the rap for this.
It's him, is it?
It's him.
It's him.
Yeah, he's my scapegoat.
Did he just disarm you with his charms and his funny laugh and his funny words?
Oh, he's a really nice guy.
He's a sweetie.
He is.
He is.
He's super funny.
But he didn't make you drink all that drink. I think
Yes,
you did that
He
yourself.
strong-armed me into it.
Strong-armed you into it. Doesn't check out quite the way that I thought it would, but okay, fine. Let's say that it does.
Fine.
So the next day, we ran around like a bunch of idiots, and I say run round, it was more like a sluggish crawl, trying to pack everything, chuck it into a case, and then
went to Perth.
Then go to Perth.
Yeah.
So we all managed to get into the lounge with Bradford and Angela, right? And we're all sat there, or us four are sat there.
Looking really, really
and
sorry for ourselves.
We must have been the most sorry party there. And everyone was sort of trying to have a little bit of a bit of water and a little bit of a bite to eat.
Oh dear.
It was quite funny.
Yes.
And you were very sorry for yourself.
I really was.
And still emotional from the night before.
Very. Yeah.
So it was a little bit of an adventure for you, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
One of your finest moments, dear. Right, let's have a quick break and then we'll start talking about Perth. And we're back to the sexy part of the show. Well, that's a contradiction in terms because it's never really sexy for us.
Do you want some like sexy boom chicka wow wow in the music?
Can you do that again?
Boom chicka wow wow. But you're in the mood for love now.
I am. It sounded more like the that old witch doctor song.
What?
Ooh,
No.
ee, ooh, ah, ah, ching, chang,
God.
walla, walla, bing, bang. It was something like that, wasn't
It's
it?
me trying to set the tone for sexier talk.
I'm here to fix your boiler. So, this part of the show gets a lot sexier.
pretty X-rated.
Well, a little bit X-rated. There is finger banging.
Oh my god. You can't just go straight in with finger banging without any lube and any sort of kind of by your leave.
Okay. Hold on, folks. Lube up. There's some finger banging. Better?
Okay. It was a
Okay.
slightly gentler segue into the finger banging segment.
We'll find our way into some finger
Okay.
banging shortly.
Work
But
our
first,
way in.
in the gap when we stopped recording and then started recording again,
Yes.
we've had about 10 messages
Oh, really?
from Barney and Emma Stone.
Oh, wonderful.
I know. They're just sending us stuff. So if they're listening right now, stop fucking sending us messages. We're trying to record an episode, all right?
I'm about to talk about finger banging.
I
so
know,
come
right?
on.
Come on.
Right.
Get to the finger banging. So we get to Perth. And before we get to all the sexy times in Perth,
Okay.
because there is a little bit of travel guide stuff that we still need to do.
Fine.
But we'll get to the good stuff, Oh, yeah. We had a meet and greet in Perth that night,
Yay. That was awesome.
post hangover.
God. I think
So-
I had never drank so little alcohol for a kind of social situation that I thought I would need lots of drinks for.
Well, it was quite funny because we booked to come on this thing, but because of the night before, we'd obviously indulged a little bit too much.
Broken ourselves a
Broken
bit.
ourselves. And the six of us, and by the six of us, it was us, by the by, and Naughty and Rocket,
Yeah.
turning up, and it was probably the saddest six people that were probably a little bit weary
Yeah.
from drink. That
And
rocked
a
up.
5.5 hour flight.
Yeah, so there was that thrown in. But we managed to pick ourselves up, actually. Everyone
Yeah.
came to life a little bit. But
Yeah.
it was a little bit of a struggle because I think we had indulged a little bit too much for the previous 2 weeks.
So we went to this lovely meet and greet.
We did.
and
Who
met
did
some
we
nice people.
meet?
Oh my god, we met Swinging Out West.
Yes, we did.
Oh. Yeah.
Okay, good, thanks.
I'll
I
leave it
think-
hanging there for a minute.
I think you've got a little bit of a crush on him.
I think he's really nice.
Now, remember, you can't say his name.
I wasn't going to say his name.
I can't remember what they call themselves.
What about you go first?
So that we can't say his name anyway.
No,
I
even if
know,
you wanted to.
But we met them.
But they were lovely.
They were lovely, weren't they?
Yeah, they were both very, very sweet.
And we met a few other people. Some
Yes,
people
we
from
did.
Twitters. Hello, peoples. You know who you
Hello,
are.
people from Twitter.
Peoples from Twitter.
Yeah, we
And
met some lovely people, actually.
it was a really nice little gathering. So we had a fair few people come along, and we had a
Ah.
little private area. Huh?
Uh-huh.
Everyone was very well behaved.
Apart from the raucous party in the next booth to us that kept dancing on tables and breaking the furniture.
Well, there was that.
That
and
wasn't us, though.
It did sort of turn into a nightclub at whatever time. So we had this little room of tranquility for a few hours, and then it descended into madness just outside the curtains. But it was lovely to meet everybody.
It was really fab, actually.
And we got to spend a good bit of time with the Swinging Out West guys
yeah.
and gals. And gals.
Aw.
And they were really lovely.
They
and
really
they
are.
brought a lady with them as well.
Yeah.
She was lovely. So hello, if you did listen eventually, thank you. You got there in the end. Hooray! And we met someone that was from the UK, which was cool.
Oh, yeah.
Hello, how you doing?
Hello, fellow UK person.
That's right, that there. And then met some other people as well. So it was really nice just chilling out and hanging with people, having a good chat, talking stories, talking about the show. That was really cool.
It was a
So
nice evening.
if you turned up, thank
Hello.
you. Hello, thank you. Well done. Good moves. So we did that. And then the next day, we were off to a new place.
Yes, another adventure. Eagle Bay? Margaret River.
What?
Margaret River.
Margaret River.
Yeah, I think
that
that's
sounds
where we
like Jackie Collins or something. Like she writes a series of dirty novels. Have you read the latest Margaret River? Yes, it was ever so saucy.
Well, that's good because you are actually entering the saucier segment.
The saucier segment of this part of the show. Welcome.
Yeah, such saucy adventures what we had on the road.
Well, one of the things we found actually, as you said, the road, was that it was very easy, given the fact that there were three of us in the back seat,
Yeah,
Angela in the back as well,
yeah.
that we could have some sexy fun times as we were travelling. So,
Because you weren't driving.
because I wasn't
Yeah.
driving, yeah, and because, road wine and drinking and going on more wine tasting, because we needed more of that.
Makes you a little bit frisky.
It does. Well, and just being next to you makes me a little bit frisky.
Ah,
but
makes you a little playful.
it does, but also I think you were feeling a little bit playful because you were in between Bradford and myself.
Yeah, it made me feel pretty playful.
Yeah, I bet it did. So, before you knew it, your pants were around your ankles.
Wow, yes.
And you were getting some road finger blasting.
You insisted I remove my clothes in the back of a car.
Yes, well, you didn't seem to mind too much. There wasn't much resistance put up.
No, not at all.
So, that was the order of the day, really, wasn't it?
Yeah, that set the tone then. Every time we got in the car. What's going to happen next?
Well, I know, it was quite fun.
Yeah, I wasn't complaining.
No, you weren't
So
complaining.
back
You did a bit of moaning, but no complaining.
Back killed a little bit of time in the car.
So as we were driving along, which is quite funny because Naughty was driving.
Oh, that poor man.
Bless him. And he couldn't really see what was going on. Now, it's safe to say, I think, and I don't think you'll mind me saying this, he is a little bit of a fanboy.
I just kept hearing him in the car in the front going, "Get fucked, you lot," every 2 minutes.
Well, I think that's because there was often the threat of someone coming on the ceiling of his car and making a mess of his truck. And I think he was starting to get a bit upset about that, but also the fact that he couldn't see what was going on.
I know.
And because he was driving, he couldn't be part of that action. So Rocket, bless her, was sort of giving him a little bit of a grope every now and then.
Did a great job of turning around and watching and then describing to him what was happening. To which he retorted, "Get fucked, you lot." And we were like, "Don't worry, there's some wet wipes in the back of a car."
Mr. H, you're a wanker. Mr. H, you're a prick. I think it was his "get fucked, you lot" was
His
sort
mantra.
of, yeah, I think there was the 3 bits.
Yeah.
So that happened, and then Bradford and Angela got into the back, and they had some fun times and sexy times in the back
Yes,
with them.
they did.
Now, on one of the journeys, and I have to address this because I know some fucker is going to say it.
Oh, so you might as well damage control.
I
and
might as well
first,
damage
right?
control it.
Tell your version, dear. Go
I will
on.
tell my version of it.
Because no one's going to believe you.
No one is going to believe me.
No
and
one still believes you to this day.
No, I know, and I know. So my confession is thus, right? So as we were traveling along, and this is on the second or third car journey in Perth or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And bearing in mind, we're travelling for a good hour or whatever here and there. Mrs. H offers some head.
Well, not just to anyone, to you.
To me.
Specifically.
Yeah. And I said no. I know.
And the whole car was aghast.
Now initially, and this is where I talk myself out to things, and this is going to bring up another topic in a moment, and I said no. And I said it was because I was feeling full.
Oh my God. Again, the car was aghast.
The car was aghast. Bradford, I think...
Literally beside themselves. Like, what the fuck?
I thought Bradford was just gonna kick me out of the car.
Stop the car and kick you out.
Yeah. I think...
Yeah, they were like,
Everyone
why?
was aghast.
Why would you do that? Why?
The reality was that I wasn't feeling particularly well.
Oh, well, you didn't tell us this.
I didn't say that because I didn't think everyone would make a big deal. So I said...
Why would they not make a big deal out of you turning down Roadhead?
Well, this is the thing. I misjudged the situation.
You
What I
really
should have
did.
done is just powered through it.
What was the worst that could have happened?
I was feeling a bit sick, so I could have been sick on you.
Oh, gone over a bump and oh no.
Yeah. So that wouldn't have been great. Then you could have been covered in jizz and sick.
That is a dark fetish. Let's not go there.
So that would have been the worst thing that would have happened. The best thing that would have happened would have been I'd have had some Roadhead and I'd have been very happy. But I wasn't feeling great, so I turned it down and they ripped the piss out of me
To your chakra,
for a
and they didn't
solid
ever let you
day.
forget it.
Yeah, and it's come up since a couple of times.
So, is the reason for this unwell feeling because you ate too much pizza and wine?
Well, it may have been that, yes. And this leads me...
In the hour preceding the offer of Roadhead?
Yes, there was that. And also, I don't travel particularly well in the car, as you
So
well
would you
know.
say you brought this on yourself, maybe?
Well, like many things, I've probably brought it on myself to a slight degree, and I may be slightly
Did the
responsible for
great
it.
pineapple misadventure of 2003 not teach you any lessons?
Well, there have been some lessons that I've learned, and clearly eating too much was not one of them. I didn't realise that I was going to be having some sexy times in the car, so I ate lunch appropriately for the way that we've been eating it, and that I shoved everything I could fucking find down my gullet, because that's how we've trained on holiday. Now, the other thing that was discovered around this time, in fact, a couple of times throughout the holiday, is that if I go to a restaurant and I have pizza, I will eat it with a knife and fork.
Oh my God.
Which apparently makes me a psycho.
That's fucking psychotic.
Well, it's not psychotic.
Yes, it is.
I also endorse pineapple on a pizza, but I know that you're fine with that. You can't backtrack on that.
I'm okay with that.
I'm
But
okay
some
with it.
people
Some people would assume that would
might
mean...
assume that makes you, again, a psycho.
The other thing that I'm sure will get mentioned, and I think Bradford mentioned on his latest episode, so I'm picking this one up and I feel the need to...
You don't drink beer.
I don't drink beer. I don't like beer. I'll drink spirits.
Oh,
I'll drink
dear.
wine. I'll even drink a bloody Smirnoff Ice if I have
This really
to.
is the triforce of like what is going on here.
Yeah.
You don't drink beer. You eat pizza with a knife and fork.
Only if it's in a restaurant. Or if
And you accept pineapple on pizzas.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
This
so
makes you a psychopath.
apparently so. But I think eating pizza with a knife and fork, if you get
It's
served in a
fucking
restaurant,
weird.
no, it's fine in a restaurant. But if you get I don't know, like a Domino's or something at home, then I don't eat it with a knife and fork. You know this as well as I do.
Because that would be really weird.
That would be fucking mental, and I
That's
get
a step
that.
too far.
That's just insane. I'm also not that keen on folding my pizza if I do eat it when I pick my hands up, but that depends on the type of pizza that it is.
All right.
I'm quite particular about
Poor
this.
Bradford.
I know. I think.
I don't think he'll ever recover from this.
Well, I don't know. I think I might have smashed some dreams there with him on that
I
front.
think so. And
Yeah.
and then, obviously, the embuggerance for the whole thing, you turned down Roadhead.
I know. What a fucking
What-
arsehole.
What a mess.
I know,
That's
right? So that night, I think it was that night, actually, moving swiftly onwards. So I stand by the fact that I'm not a
Well, you
complete
recovered
madman.
when we got back.
Yes, I felt
Because
much
you
better.
had a little power snooze to recover.
I think what you'll find is that both Angela and I put you on a sofa at our new place
Yeah.
and then brought you off.
Yeah. Well, Bradford made awesome chicken.
Yeah, he did. So what was really nice about this whole adventure is that there were people taking turns cooking. Which
I
was
thought you were
really-
going to say bringing me off then.
Well, there was a bit of that as well. I
Your
suppose.
turn.
Yeah, your turn. It's like a deli counter.
Oh my God.
Number 125, please.
What?
So that was a bit of a jam-packed evening. So that was the evening that we met Naughty and Rockets at Manticorn or Manticorn.
Yeah.
So we met him.
And we did some liqueur tasting as well. You know,
Oh,
just
yes,
to
we
really
did.
top things off.
Just to make sure that we
We
were
were suitably like
inebriated.
full of diabetes and
So-
like alcohol.
So he was brought into the group
Yes.
for a night and at our place at Eagle Bay.
Yeah.
Eagle Bay. And as we got into the place, literally Angela and I just started playing with you.
How delightful.
So this poor chap walks in and,
Poor chap.
well, I don't think he quite realised
Oh, I
how
see.
open a
What
situation
he'd walked
it was.
into.
Yeah, so he sits down at the sofa and there's Angela and I going to town on you.
Well, Bradford like
Make
makes
some really
chicken.
banging fried chicken. And kudos to Bradford. That man can cook
Oh,
fucking decent
that-
fried chicken.
Yeah, that chicken was
Because
amazing.
I also know how distraught he was the next day when he discovered that you'd eaten it all.
I
in the morning.
didn't.
It was you.
It wasn't me.
Jacques Hughes'
I
wife.
promise it wasn't me.
Jacques Hughes.
No, it wasn't.
All right then.
I stand by that.
Okay,
Mm.
fine.
I would put me on the Jeremy Kyle show. I'll take a lie detector
There is no
test.
Jeremy Kyle show anymore.
Well, that's why my plan is so like genius.
No, it's not. Fine. Anyways, so he was making chicken, we were playing with you on the sofa with your legs over the back of the sofa, which was hilarious.
Yes,
So you seem to enjoy that.
I did. And what else did I receive?
Well, I'm going to get to that in just
All
a
right,
moment.
then. Well, this truly is the naughty segment.
It is the naughty segment. So we had fried chicken, which was delightfully naughty.
That's not what I meant.
Oh, I know that's not what you meant. So while we're there, Angela and Bradford did a bit of a
Demo.
service top moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, with Rocket.
Yes.
So they gave her a bit of a spanking.
And just to set a little scene there was a beautiful fire
Log fire.
and an ottoman right in front of a fire, which looked ideally placed for such activities.
Nick Offerman
Nick Offerman.
in front of the roaring fire.
Please spank me on Nick Offerman in front of a fire.
With his moustache and everything.
Oh, I wouldn't actually turn that down.
I know you wouldn't.
I really like that man's voice. Anyway, moving on and moving swiftly back to the ottoman in front of the fire.
So would you say it was a poof?
No, it was an ottoman. It was a spanking bench.
It sounds like a superhero for like Adventures by the River. It is I, Ottoman. So
Administer a flogging.
yeah. So Rocket was put through her paces with Angela and Bradford.
Yeah, like good 20 minutes or so.
And they got they actually froze the one of the paddly things.
Oh,
using for handles.
yes.
That was quite cool.
There was a lot of sensory
Literally.
play, wasn't there?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was quite interesting.
Sensual or sensory?
Sensory.
Sensual sensory play.
Sensory with like the heat of the fire combined with having things placed in the freezer and then on your skin. And
Talking
what have
of fire, I think it was at this point that Bradford revealed that he knew all of the lyrics to "We Didn't Start the Fire."
you. Okay. Weird segue, but
It
fine.
was, but true.
True story.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was pretty impressive.
It was. Yeah,
I
agree.
know. Right. So, anyway,
Back to the Ottoman, the Nick Offerman.
Yes, Nick Offerman. So Bradford returned to making chicken.
Yes, and as he should.
As he should, because it was
Absolutely.
finger licking good,
Finger banging good.
finger banging good, definitely. And then you got asked if you wanted
Yeah.
some attention.
And this is interesting because in the past, I've always regretted turning down opportunities to give this a go. I've just dithered too much in my decision making and then the moments passed. So I thought, no, this time I'm just going to put myself out there and on Nick Offerman in front of a fire.
Well, I think the first thing that drew you in was the fact that it was right in front of the fire.
And I do like to be warm.
You do.
Yes.
You do like to be
And
boiling
actually,
hot.
there was something really nice about that whole setting.
Well, it was like, so there were sort of a whole sofa range around it. So it was almost like a viewing platform with a table in
Yeah, I mean,
in
it was
between.
a stunning environment, to be fair. The fire was awesome. It was an ideally placed sort of scenario. You couldn't have had a better environment for
No.
it. It was just stunning.
With some of our best friends standing up there.
Yeah, and who better than the amazing Angela?
Exactly.
So I took my position up on Nick Offerman in front of a fire.
Okay. So what's going through your head?
Okay, so I was intrigued. I knew I was in good hands because Angela had already kind of given me a bit of a rundown that she would constantly check in with me and we'd have some safe words and that this was really just a gentle intro to that kind of play.
Yeah.
So I was really, really down for kind of experiencing that with a view to maybe in the future, exploring that with you.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought, that's a really good opportunity. And also I was quite interested by the idea of you sitting there and watching that and seeing what you thought of it.
Yeah. It was, to be fair, it's fine because we've seen enough of those sort of demos. And I think you often, like you say, you've wanted to take part, but by the time you get your arse in gear to say that you do, you've worried so much about it that the moment has passed.
Absolutely.
But what's also interesting is that you don't actually ask that either.
I know, I don't. You're absolutely right.
Whereas I think you do like it if we do play in that sort of scenario or that world, but it's not something that you ever asked for. So
Correct.
It's like a interesting conundrum in that way.
Yeah, no,
So
I agree.
what was it like? Tell us. What did it feel like?
Well, what struck me most was the fact that
It was Angela.
What struck me most was the fact that I very quickly forgot about everything else around me. I wouldn't have batted an eyelid if like 20 people had entered the room.
Mm-hmm.
Because I really gave myself over to the moment and
So a
closed
little bit
my
of
eyes.
sort of subspace then, potentially.
Well, I'm not familiar with that. I mean, I know what it is, and I know it
Well, you're
exists.
quite familiar with being blank, though, aren't you?
Oh my god, vacant. Oh, I'm thinking about sausages and all sorts of things. I'm very familiar with, obviously, subspace, that it exists. I've always been a bit sceptical of that, if I'm honest, because I can't actually imagine a scenario where I would enter that. However, I did find it remarkably easy to just switch off from everything else and just let Angela do her thing and just concentrate on how I felt. And for me, and I know you'll agree, it's really rare that I completely do switch off and allow myself not to be distracted by things. So I did. Very selfishly, I just forgot about everyone else in the room and just concentrated on what I was going to feel next and whether it was going to be firmer or more painful. And I wondered where my pain threshold would be. As it happens, it was quite a gentle demo. It was nothing that would break me. And what struck me as well, that Angela checked in with me really frequently, very quietly, just to say, "Are you still green? Is everything okay?" And everything was fine. It wasn't enough to bring me out of where I was. It was just a gentle check-in, and that was lovely.
Mm-hmm.
I really enjoyed the whole thing.
Yeah,
I really did, and I probably could have gone on for a lot longer. And I was really interested to know how much more I could have pushed my boundaries. Mm-hmm. So that was interesting too.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, do you want to explore that in the future? What sort of thing? Yeah?
I think so.
Cool.
I don't
Right,
know
we'll be
to
back in
what...
about 45 minutes.
I don't know to what capacity, and I certainly don't see myself entering some kind of like kink world as such, and joining that whole FetLife community, which is a big thing for people. But I do think it's something that could play a small part in what we do.
Okay, so dip your toes in.
Yeah,
Felt nice.
yeah, not something that would be all encompassing, but something that we would dip into now and then.
Yeah, that sounds.
How did you feel?
It was interesting watching it because I think I've seen enough of that to have a very basic understanding of how it goes down and what happens. I think what's fascinating is that we haven't played in that environment for a little while, and we haven't especially having seen so many things sort of since we've played in that environment. I kind of have a better understanding of what to do and how to apply it, but because you haven't asked for it, I just haven't done it. Yeah. So it was kind of in my head. I was like, well, I could do all of that. Yeah. And I know it. But by the same token, I was like, fine, it's nice for you to experience that. And the opportunity to play with Angela should never be passed up, of course. And it was nice watching it, but I was also kind of a little bit like, well, you don't ask me for that, so therefore, how do I feel about it? Yeah. And I was absolutely fine, but for a moment I was like, oh, okay, I'm not sure quite how I feel. But ultimately it was absolutely fine, and to be fair, it was in company of such good friends that it didn't really bother me in the slightest. It was only that initial bit as it started, I was like, okay. Sure. But I'm very happy to play in that area and that space. What was interesting though is that when we've almost done a little bit of that with friends before, you've not liked it particularly.
You mean you doing that with other people? Correct.
Yeah. So it's an interesting balance of how we find that.
You're absolutely right, and that's because I know we haven't explored it much together. So I think probably my preference is that we explore that together first before that starts being extended to other people.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Yeah. I can understand where you're coming from with that.
Yeah.
So that was that. That was a pretty sexy night.
It really was. Yeah.
And I think was the next day our way home, our way back to Perth.
I'm not sure.
It was well. The next big thing that happened was that on our last day of that place, we had a sexy photo shoot.
Oh, we did.
And by sexy photo shoot, I mean all of the women dressed up really delightfully and looked fantastic and gorgeous and stunning. Yourself included, of course, in the new underwear that you.
Oh, a honeybird ad.
Yes, which looked really hot. And then all the chaps, so Bradford and Naughty and I took loads of pictures of you women doing lots of different things.
That was super fun.
So there was a pool table downstairs, so we took some pics of that. We had Angela knocking balls into pockets.
It was a stunning location to do this little photo shoot as well.
Yeah, some really nice light coming in. There were loads of blinds in our room that created some really nice pics, which we put out and about on social media and stuff. So you can have a look around, you'll find those. And it was just fun. And because everyone was just wandering around, we were just taking different pictures. There was no pressure on anybody or anything like that. It was just, let's try this. So it was. What I really liked was just actually going up to all three women and saying, right, okay, you three look this way, do that, place here, stand here, and then just getting that picture. And some of them came across really, really well. It's such a shame that we can't share some of them with you listeners because they do have faces and other body parts involved.
Other body parts. Yeah. You can't possibly show my knee on Twitter.
No, not your left thigh, dear, or your ankle. Only a tark will show her ankle online. So
Although actually it's reminded me of really funny, the previous morning we'd had that little pool tournament, which was super fun.
Yes.
I loved that.
Now, I know why you loved that, because that was your little moment of redemption.
After being ridiculous and being crowned the most gullible of gullible people that ever existed.
Well, I think people were starting to wonder how much they could sell you and how much could they get away with chatting to you. And then you played pool.
Yeah.
And
I redeemed myself a little bit.
And I know that you're generally not that great at pool all the time. Yeah. I've beaten you at pool so many times it's untrue.
And not this time.
But not this time. You were on form completely and actually kicked everyone's asses up until the very end, I think.
Yeah.
And
that. That was a great morning.
and I think you walked around looking so fucking happy with yourself for that afternoon. And you were like, yeah, now everyone knows I'm all right. I'm not a fucking idiot. This is great. So it was a really fun little moment. Yeah, you did have to have your victory, and I'm so happy that you managed to get that. That was really cool.
Oh yeah,
it was really awesome. So we did that. I think a few of us have put pictures of that actually online. I think all of us have posted one or two. So you've only got to check our Twitter and whatnot out, and you'll be able to see some of those pics. Then we went back to Perth, and this was pretty much our last couple of days before we had to go.
Oh yeah.
So on our penultimate day, was it? We went to Rottnest Island.
Yeah, we saw quokkas.
Quokkas. So the thing that really cracked me up is that I don't think Mrs. H had any idea of how many of these fucking little quokka things that were going to be around this island. Now, if you don't know what a quokka is, it's like a sort of
cute rat.
Yeah, it's like a cute giant rat,
but really cute.
And they sort of hop around a bit, and they're really friendly,
adorable.
And they're desperate to take the food out of your hands, even though you're not supposed to feed them.
I'm desperate to cuddle them.
I know you were. So we get off the boat, because you have to take a boat to get to the island. And as we're wandering along, I'm like, what are those little mammal things? Oh, they're the quokkas. Mrs.
So
H,
cute.
absolutely, her heart melts. And you can see that she's just loving taking pictures of them. And then she sees another, oh, there's another one. There's another one. And honestly, I shit you not, there were like 40,000 of these beasts on this island.
Yeah.
And it ended up being this hilarious exchange where you were just walking around taking picture after picture after quokka after quokka after quokka. Which
I had my quota of quokkas.
Yes, your quokka quota. And it was
very lovely.
It was just marvellous to see you so happy seeing these little beasties. Also, they sold the Vegemite shaped things.
Oh God, I love those.
So we were walking around carrying a box of those for a bit.
Yeah, they were awesome. It was a really nice day.
And we saw king skinks.
Yeah,
and
loads of spiders.
Yeah, loads of different things.
Yeah,
so
great day.
Really nice, chilled out day. And I think the difficulty was there was a level of melancholiness about it, because we knew that our holiday overall was starting to. It was on the downward end. And I think everyone was a bit knackered, because we'd all had a bit too much to drink for the last 3 weeks, and we'd all had a bit too much fun and adventure.
We were all in burnout mode by that point.
And I think everyone was a little bit burnt out. And of course, the threat of going back to work was coming back on the agenda, and all this sort of stuff. So it was a beautiful day, and very nice and very, very wonderful, just to sort of casually stroll around and not have to worry too much about stuff.
But we had one last hurrah. We
did have one last hurrah. And we were asked what did we want to do for our last night, and we really we felt like the last days of Caligula was probably as close as it got.
Yes.
So we had a glorious sort of little feasty kind of thing.
We did.
Yeah, we did. Which I didn't eat too much. I wasn't too full.
Ooh, applied learning.
I know, right? See, look how much I've learned.
There's no way I'm going to be too full for head.
So some sexy times kicked off. And there was me in the bed with you and Rocket.
Well, that was not a bad start.
That was a fucking great start.
It was an awesome start.
Yeah, that was extremely fun.
She's such a lovely lady.
She is very sexy. But what made me laugh, in hindsight, is the fact that when I look at our phone...
It's not a situation for laughing.
Well, is the fact that Bradford and Angela and Naughty were taking as many selfies of us getting it on with us in the background.
Yeah, they were stood there like the Three Stooges in the background.
They're
like,
giggling away to themselves
guys.
and taking pictures. Now, eventually, two of them joined us and got into the bed. And it was a really
little
sexy...
one said, roll over.
Well, there was a little bit of that. Yeah, and it was a really fun, sexy time.
It was awesome.
And it was a really nice way to end the holiday.
Yeah.
The vacation on the Hollybobs.
Definitely.
The next day was a really odd day, because we knew it was the day that we had to fly home. And we were flying out as a direct flight from Perth, which is like a 17 hours fucking flight. So it's not an easy one.
It was a bag of mixed emotions.
But we didn't fly out until the evening. So we had this whole day of just mooching around, knowing that we're going to say goodbye to people. Still we still wandered around Perth.
Yeah, but we didn't want to do anything too big, because we knew we had the big travel ahead of us. And then they kept delaying our bloody flight by 40 minutes at a time.
Well, it was delayed by about an hour and a half.
But they did it in increments. So it just kept adding and adding to the torment, because we couldn't ever fully just get to a point where we were going for the travel. It just kept getting delayed a little bit.
Yeah, and it was very difficult because you kind of don't want to be down on your last day, but by the same token, you know that you've got to get back into the mindset of going home, going back to work, going back to the house, going back to and there's so many good things to go home to, granted, but it was the end of all this time that we'd had together.
It was heartbreaking
Well,
leaving them.
we got to the airport, and it was interesting because Naughty said to me at some point, I think it was Naughty, "Is Mrs. H going to be okay?" And I said, "She will be fine. I will be an emotional wreck."
Oh.
That was my take.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And we got there, and they all walked into the airport while we put our bags on the thing, and Bradford finally managed to lick your face.
Oh my God.
Which he'd been threatening to do the whole time.
Fucking livid.
You were livid at that. But
He
even
recorded the whole thing.
He recorded that as part of a video documentary series of Let's Lick Mrs. H's Face, where David
That
Attenborough...
man.
Yeah, he had a moment. But it was so difficult saying goodbye.
Oh, it was a mess.
You were a mess. I was barely holding on to anything, really. And we said goodbye to them. And honestly, it was so difficult. And we went through into the airport. And you know what? There was fuck all in that airport.
Literally desolate.
It was empty. It was late.
Everything was
It was
shut.
like the last flight out or whatever.
Yeah.
And we just sort of sat there and just shuffled in. And it was the most sad and depressing bed hopper moment I think we've ever had.
I agree. I had a massive glass of wine, and then we just readied ourselves for the long flight.
I know. I basically had the last flat white that I could have before leaving the country.
Yeah.
But it was such a difficult moment, and I think it's a testament, actually, not just to those people, but to all the people that we met throughout our adventures while we were away.
It's a testament to how great the lifestyle can be and how positive it can be.
And how many great friends we made.
And it's not all about just taking your pants off.
No, it really isn't. And I think, one of the things that we, when we look back, actually, there weren't that many moments where pants were off throughout the course of the holiday.
Not a huge amount, actually, no. But, I mean, when it did happen, it was awesome. But it was more a kind of awesome community of people.
So we've got to go back and have a 95% pants off fun time holiday where basically...
Make it like a Roman orgy.
Yes. So, unless my cock falls off and you can't walk because it looks
vagina
like
roadkill.
A vagina like roadkill. Yes, unless we've managed that, then we clearly haven't
we failed.
We failed.
Swingers.
So that's next year's challenge. We'll come back to that one at some other point.
Oh my gosh. So the challenge for 2020 is to break our body parts.
Yes, break everyone else's body parts in
death
the same
by orgy.
Death by orgy. It's not death by snoo. It's death by orgy.
It's death by snoo.
So overall, it was an amazing experience and quite an emotional one.
Yeah, I agree.
So many little moments, and one of the things that we'll talk about in our next episode is actually there were a couple of bumps in the road.
Because that's life.
Well,
There's always going to be some
but
emotional
I'm not suggesting
bumps.
that it's not life, but I think we'll talk a little bit about that and some of the impacts of that. But overall, we had an amazing trip. We're really fortunate enough to have been able to do this, and we really recognise that. But more than anything else, we're really fortunate to have met such amazing people.
Yeah, I agree.
So, everyone from Angela Bradford, Naughty, Rocket,
Kate and
Daryl, to the Gentleman. This feels like a cast call, doesn't it?
Oh, it does a little bit.
To Icarus, to...
I'd like to thank God.
OSS, those guys, they were lovely. To Lola Lady, to the people that came out and saw us, to the people that we met in Melbourne, to your work chums, to everybody who was a member of the cast in the play of Bedhoppers Tour Australia and Singapore. You made it amazing for us, and we're incredibly humble for that whole thing. So
undestroyed.
we need physically we are in probably the worst shape we've been in for the last 6 months. We are
so worth it.
But it was amazing. It was an amazing time. Now we've just got to pick our feet up and hit the gym sort of 82 times a day in an attempt to go back to normal, start drinking properly and start eating properly again.
Yeah.
Because we've got 6 months until the next vacation. Yeah. But we also need to get back into the swing of things more than ever.
I like what you did there.
Yeah, see what I said there? That was good, wasn't it? It was almost as though I did that deliberately. So, as I said, next time we're going to talk a little bit about some of the emotional stuff that popped up, some of the things that impacted us, and some of the conversations we had. In the meantime, I don't think have we got anything planned. What we got planned? We
just existing.
Just exist. Well, we might be doing some more club stuff. We might be travelling around.
Yeah.
We had hoped to go to Newcastle. I don't think that's going to happen now for a little bit longer.
Yeah.
Anything else, wife, that we need to mention?
No. Just a big thank you, really.
Just a big thank you
to all the wonderful people we met.
Yes, and to you, listeners, for standing by and listeners warble on about our holiday for like 2.5 hours or whatever it's been in total.
I guarantee you're going to get an influx of hate mail about eating pizza with a knife and fork.
Do you? Do you think? Well, if you think I'm right, and only if you think I'm right, please post it on Twitter.
And I hope a wave of sympathy for poor Mrs. H, who was led to believe about the existence of drop bears.
Yeah, so if you believed or have been led to believe that drop bears existed, if you think that eating pizza with a knife and fork is okay, if you don't like beer, great. And if you've occasionally felt too ill for head, be it roadhead or normal head, please post it on Twitter. If you're not in the...
It's like a helpline.
Yeah, please get in touch. And
if you've been too full for roadhead,
show us on the
number.
Yeah, show us on the doll where she touched you. Sometimes it's okay to say no. Please let us know on Twitter. That'd be great. Or send us an email. But if you believe that I'm a complete wanker for all of the above, then fuck you. I hate your guts. I don't want to hear from you anymore, or something like that. Anyway, you've been listening to the Bedhoppers podcast. Find us on Twitter at BedhoppersUK. Not Bedhoppers Suck. We're also at bedhoppersuck@gmail.com. If you want to email us, we're at bedhoppers on fabswingers.com. Mrs. H, do the thing.
Thank you for hopping into our bed.
So, what was the best bit about the trip then, wife?
Oh,
Was it the finger banging?
the finger banging does not make everything right.
Does it not?
I'm getting better at it.
You're getting better at it.
Well, receiving it.
How many fingers have you banged lately?
The best bit about the trip?
Yeah, was the lack of roadhead. It was the fact that your jaw didn't ache whilst we were driving in the car,
We
wasn't it?
remedied it eventually.
We did.
You did receive your roadhead.
I did.
And then when you did, you got really worried that the people in the lorry next to us were going to see you.
Well, that's because we were driving along what I can only sort of describe as a motorway, where a sort of 10-foot lorry or whatever it was driving along next to us. You can see directly into the car.
But what I really liked was the fact that you made an announcement to the whole car, like, I'm definitely okay for roadhead today. I'm definitely in the mood for it. I'm not turning it down. Nope, not one bit.
Well, you've got to make sure that everyone's aware of the roadhead status.
I'm writing this wrong.
So, so road finger banging achieved, roadhead achieved.
Yeah, I'm quite a fan of it.
Yeah, really?
Yeah.
Okay. How do we up the ante? Is there like road sex? Is that a possibility? Can we get someone drive us around when we have sex in the back of the car?
What?
I'm looking forward to road anal.
Oh my
It's quite a
God.
challenge.
Anal on the road.